Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTCGO codes, including the stuff from Lost Origin, make sure you check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your orders using that code OmniPoke. For today's video, we're going to be looking at the best performing deck lists from the recent Peoria Regional Championships, another big NA regional with over 1,000 players in attendance. It's crazy to see how popular these tournaments are getting, which is just so awesome. And the tournament was actually won not by an American, but the Norwegian machine, Tord Reklev. What more can you say about this player? They are just incredible in every way. And not just in-game play, but also building deck lists for unprepared metas. And I think you'll see that very well here when you see the simplicity and pretty much getting everything spot on when you see this Lost Box list from Tord. So no surprises, we're going towards the heavy Sableye and Radiant Zard approach with the Claras for recovery. But there are some key inclusions here that I think Tord has gone for, which is perfect for a sort of unknown metagame. You got the quad path, which is one thing to note compared to, we have been seeing Pokestops and cancelling clones. So Pokestop is better for like a draw aspect, I guess, but you then also have to make sacrifices like playing Power Pad and this, that, and the other. By just playing paths, you limit a little bit of draw, but the upside is you're really annoying for Mew, you're really annoying for Arceus. You have extra help against Goodra, which is still one of your hardest matchups, and I think one of the only losses Tord took was to Goodra. But, of course, you are laughing in the face of Empoleon because you're playing 4 Path, 4 Cross Switcher, and 4 Rope. You have so many ways around Empoleon that you are just not slowed down by that card at all. And I think a knee-jerk for Salt Lake, the next regional upcoming in just a couple of weeks' time, there will probably be less Empoleon because even if Empoleon isn't popular, there's still a ton of reasons to have a high path count because it just helps out this list so much. It also actually helps you get to 10 cards in the Lost Zone quickly. It's really interesting to see that the approach here with just the heavy vacuum, the high tool and stadium count allows you to get to 10 just faster than other decks. And that's probably a better mirror tech than having things like Zigzagoon or anything else because you just get to 10 faster. That's why, again, we see 4 Rope, 4 Cart, 4 Scoop Up Net, 2 Air Balloon, and even Cross Switches. You have so much use of flower selecting. You can quite happily get to Lost Mine, ideally on turn 2. Certainly if you've used supporters for 2 turns, you should be able to get to 10, and then you're just Lost Mining the entire game away, which gives you so much control over targeting your opponent's stuff, toward not playing any of the fluff at all, not playing any Echoing Horns, not playing any Choice Belts, not really playing any techs whatsoever, just keeping 4 Oz of everything. Such a comforting sight to see this as well. And even Marnie compared to playing Roxanne has been a debate. I've seen a lot of Roxanne usage. I've been a proponent of Roxanne myself in this sort of deck list. But the Marnie is just so much more proactive. And when you're being faster on the scene with Sableye, the Marnie is so detrimental in Mirror when you're doing it with a Lost Mine KO of Comfey because the hand size is so small that they probably have to put down more Comfeys for you. So it sort of keeps helping you out even further. And of course it means that you have more supporters in the opening stages. You just get to play the game more with this sort of list. So I think Tord nailed so much of the list just out the gate. Not just a fantastic in-game player, but making pretty much every call correct for the list itself. I don't think there'll be much adaptation going into Salt Lake, honestly, because there's not much that I would think about changing. Like, possibly you could go down to 3 Path if you want to make a wiggle room space for something. But I don't really know what it would be because we just have 4 OVs right now. So there's like... This list is so close to perfect already, and it was for a blind meta. It's just so impressive. Amazing to see, and... it's going to be a difficult deck to go up against for a ton of decks, unfortunately, going forward. I also have a ton of praise for Cal Connor. They have been grinding online events. They had a great Worlds finish. They are just playing so much Pokemon right now at such a high level, and they've been doing it all the while with Palkia and Teleon, so definitely a deck that they click with, have great experience with, and must be in the thousands of games played with this deck at this point. Getting a very impressive second place finish. I know they've been on the bubble a couple times, were able to squeak through in this event. And a couple interesting choices in here. Does have the Drapion respecting Mew, which is fine. Still playing that Leon as well as the 1 Choice Belt. Kind of cool, giving you some push potential here and there. Has the Cancelling Cologne, so you can try and shut down bring up and shut down Manaphy to go for Moonlight Shuriken plays as well. Definitely a nice option to use. Definitely something I'm a fan of. Not much else to be said here. No Raihan is kind of the only thing that I would debate. I know in the past they've played Rod and Palpad. Now they've got rid of the Palpad. So slight variation from where their list was at the World Championships, but overall very similar to the initial concept that they were playing for the longest time. So great props to them. Palkintel still one of the top performing decks, even though Lost Mine can definitely punish this Inteleon engine for sure. It's still really good against all sorts of other matchups, and it's still close into the Lost Zone deck. We saw a really amazing game 1 where it did come down to the wire that little bit against Tord at the very least, and then in game 2 just had a Sobble Brick, unfortunately. But yeah, this deck still has a ton of tricks up its sleeve, can make life more awkward for the Lost Box matchup if it wants to as well, with some tech includes later. We have Yoshi coming in with Kieran. Kieran making 3rd and 4th place finishes. Very impressive stuff. First of all, we have a 2-2 Palkia line here, kind of the thicker line, with a Cheryl in here as well. Pretty nasty to throw this out there for the opponent and undo a lot of damage onto either a VMAX or onto your Palkia. Still very strong here. Of course, you can combine it with Star Portal or combine it with Glaciated World Attach if it's on a Palkia or something else, and make sure you still have attackers. Just playing the 2 Cross Switcher and 1 Boss is a little bit cheeky here, but you do have the Iridas to try and cherry pick them at the right time. Lost City, definitely an interesting card as well, that we haven't seen in a lot of these builds. Can be really nice for specifically picking off cards like Manaphy's, which is actually really big. And just other one-prize Pokemon, again, just getting through Sableyes and forcing more out of the opponent. Give them harder Flower Selects and Colruses throughout the game can be really nice, and you can catch them unawares with it as well. So some cool choices in here, certainly. Just the one Empoleon. I think that's probably going to be changing going forward in Kieran Palk. I don't know if, like, Cheryl might just be enough of a tech answer, especially because you already have the Lost City, so you can try and knock out Manaphy's as well that way. But the Empoleon doesn't feel worthwhile at the moment for Salt Lake. I think this will change. I think there's going to be the classic Path comes in, Empoleon goes out, Path goes out, Empoleon comes in. You got to time your spots for Empoleon now going forwards. But like I said, for Tord 60, there's still lots of reasons to like Path anyway, so I don't necessarily think Path will always go out of the likes of Reggie's and the likes of Lost Box. But hey, I feel like Empoleon has already sort of just shown its colours too soon and can't be that surprise tech card that wins a tournament. It was like so on the radar before this event even began that it kind of cannibalized itself, unfortunately. But we do have another list from Zach Kreckler with, I think it's the thinner, just the 1-1 package of Palkia. You can see there was double Empoleon in this list as well, so I'm not going to like hate on it too much. I was definitely a 2 or 0 gamer when I was talking about Empoleon, and I think going into the blind meta again, having double Wash Water and the 2 Empoleon makes a ton of sense. They got obviously very far into the tournament. I really like a lot of the choices here with the deck list as well. I like the couple Rotom Phones, of course. The Drapion coming into both of the Kieran Palkias as well, which is definitely respecting Mew, which I think is worthwhile. This time just playing the 3 Training Courts, really just getting lots of energy recovery with the Retrieval as well in here. So yeah, definitely a strong archetype. I don't really know what we do with the 2-2 Empoleon spaces, honestly. It could just end up being like health buff tools on your like Palkia or something, and weave in that Cheryl or something along those lines. Something I have to play around with, because obviously they're going to Sableye anyway a lot, and they can just lean into their Zard for a couple hits anyway, so you probably need to be hitting with Kieran for a lot of the game. And yeah, Wash Water seems like a big card. I think there's things to play around with here, even without the Empoleons. But yeah, really good result for the Kieran Palkias. They are probably here to stay. More Palkia Inteleon, no surprise here. It was a really, really strong deck for the tournament. Not too much to say about this one. This one is playing Quick Shooting. Not much else surprising going on the list. No Raihan again, just being preferred to have just the Melanie recovery. This one not playing Cancelling Clone, no Pokemon recovery here, just sort of higher ball search count base build, which is definitely reasonable. We have one more here in the top 8. This one is playing Candy, but no captures on the Quad VIP instead. Pretty reasonable. I do like the thick line of Inteleon. It makes sense for me because very often when you're, especially against Lost Box, like now that's on everyone's radar, right? And even Tina could play Sableye. You want to develop some Sobbles early just so you can get into the game, of course. And just having Drizzles that can become Inteleons without the need for net is obviously very good. So I do like the thick line of Inteleon. And these are actually good attackers in the matchup as well, of course, because they do have that higher range of hit points. You can net them up as well. So yeah, pretty solid there. Then we have John Eng's Lost Box. I think there was, also Bakari did very well with the 60. Did I say Lost Box? This is Giratina. And it has the classic energy split, not playing any captures, just playing basic energy. With the double rod, the training court, and the gates, I do like that option. Not anything too surprising about the list. Has made space for the Snorlax, has made space for the Drapion. Not playing Thornton. Does have Zig as well. Zig can be pretty cheeky. At making that Lost Mine that much more dangerous, I guess you could say. But yeah, a pretty streamlined, straightforward, I guess, Giratina. Nothing too surprising from what we've seen in the past already with the deck list. Yeah, not too much out of place here. Just a very straightforward Tina with the Drapion respecting Mew and the Snorlax to help out in the Lost Box. Just seems like a good copy-paste for the future. Nothing really changes with Tina. It's already so flexible with its variety of attackers that it doesn't need much. And actually, a Zoroark did make it into the top 8 as well here. And this is a quad DTE Gapejaw Bog build. Sorry, not Gapejaw Bog, just a quad DTE build. Of course, they're all Gapejaw Bogs. But this has got some interesting cards in here. It's got big parasols going on in here. Now, we have seen already 3 lost vacuums in towards lists, so I don't know how effective these are going to be going forwards. But they could have been helpful at different points. Has the Manaphy, has Dunsparce to respect Regis with Sharon's Care going on in here as well. Sharon's Care actually kind of cool, again. Probably surprising some Lost Box players where they're quite happy to hit into Zoros and whatnot and sprinkle those sorts of Pokemon, and then you can just catch them with the Sharons. So maybe there's something here. Of course, the Quad DT build is very aggressive into 2 and 3 prize matchups. So having these little Sharons could be enough, possibly with some Parasols thrown in here, to be okay against the Lost Box. But we'll have to see. I feel like there is something here to be said. I feel like Regis and Lost Box are basically bullying out every other one prize deck, and having answers to just those two shouldn't be like the most difficult thing in the world, especially when you have that option to have healing with the Sharons. This list playing no Barrel either, which we've seen a lot of. Just playing some other, setup mons like Guru instead and Double Bat. Kind of just fast and on the scene kind of list, which is cool. Making space for the Parasols. Wonder how they actually ended up. Also bubbling, I believe, at 9th. It was a Regis. Reggie was actually played by a ton of players. I'm shaken at how many people thought Regis was the best deck to play. But hey, like in a vacuum, I can see why, because it does have reasonable Mew, Palkia matchups. It has definitely a pretty strong Kyurem, I would imagine. It's like, I don't think it's ever been good into Lost Box, but people will debate that the high hit points make it okay into Lost Box, but you're just so slow as this deck most of the time. And you just have so many bricks, Like, I don't want to hate on these performances, because obviously a lot of people did, like, pretty well with the deck. But so many of, like, very good players played Regis to not their best finishes. Makes me think that it'll be something that doesn't get repeated too much. That being said, it is a path-based build of Regis to, again, respect Empoleon, which makes sense, and also you don't lose to Arcdura immediately. It is playing the double gift, the double twin energies, so you can get some card draw in there as well as having those twins on the spot when you need to against Mew. It is playing the 3rd copy of Gigas, which I'm definitely a fan of because of Lost World in Mew. Definitely makes sense. Not playing any 130 hit point Reggie. Lecky does make me quite sad because Lost Box is really trying to mine you down the entire time, and just not having the 130 can actually be like a really big deal. It's one of your ways to undo damage. And also not playing 4 scoop up nets is really weird because that's also really good against them. But yeah, I think people will still play Regis. Regis is basically becoming the Greninja of this format, where its matchup spread is like pretty good, but people just forget that matchups on paper and actually playing Regis are two very different things. That's my main feeling. But yeah, it did bubble. It could have made top 8, so maybe I'm being too harsh on it. There are some other notable placements, more placements for Zoro and Regis as well. Got some Arc Gudra in top 16 as well, a couple of them, which is looking pretty good. The highest placing Mew was 14th place by Riley. I know a lot of the Mahomies were all playing this, and they all had some pretty decent finishes in there, some top 32s and 16s. Not too bad. Let's just check out the Mew for the sake of it. This is playing Path, this is playing Drapion as well, playing Hyper Potion. We've got some funky stuff going on in this list. It's pretty teched out. They all played the same 60, so a few different key cards in here. The Hyper Potion's pretty interesting. You can just attach a DTE to a Genesect and Hyper Potion heal. That seems pretty annoying for them, to be honest. Has the Path Roxanne play for like mirrors and whatnot. There's actually a lot of cool stuff going on in this list. It's not just like your straightforward Mew. It has adapted, and it's playing its own Drapion for like mirror situations. I don't know if I would play the Drapion myself, like going forward. But I don't know what I would commit that space to. This is playing no Rotom Phones either, which is a little bit weird. I think Rotom Phone is like so strong. I think it's stronger than Shoes as well. But yeah, there's a pretty cool techie Mew. Just the one loss Sissy in here. Does have Silene though to sort of reload it in like Reggie matchups and whatnot. So there you have it. Let's have a look at the statistics, I think is where I want to go. Yeah, let's see the other decks that were doing well, the most successful decks. So lots of Palkia doing very well. Lots of Arceus doing very well actually as well. We didn't see it get to the very tippy top heights, but there were some, you know, top 16 placements for both Arc Goo and Arc Tina. Which is really cool. Arc Dur as well in top 32, and Arc Pika not doing too badly either. So yeah, lots of Arceus still around, and I think Arceus will be finding a way. It's only a matter of time. Actually, I think the fact that Lost Box won probably helps Arceus in still being a popular deck going forward. It's kind of got the chops to keep up with the one prize base build, certainly. Regis was very popular, as was Kyurem, Mew, Tina. Tina seems to be going strong as well. I don't think there's really necessarily like tech cards for Tina either. It just has so much versatility. We saw some Shadow Rider, one Dialga as well. Made, yeah, 69th. Nice. There you go. We got Shadow Rider in there as well with one of the other Crecklers, all three of them in the top tables in that day too. Pretty cool to see. But yeah, that is the initial top 8 from Peoria. I think for Salt Lake, I would definitely expect people taking Tord's list. It's Tord. People know that it's come from good stock. It did really well. Tord played expertly on stream as well, as he always does, and gives people a real good insight into how he tries to play the deck, which helps people out as well. Intuitively, they know that you want to zoom and get to Lost Mine as quickly as possible. I could easily see some tech cards being wiggled into the list because Tord has gone, as he usually does, let me just get into the game, let me just have a simplistic 60. This will really help people out, though, for people who are scared about lost zoning competently. You just have so much leeway to, like, mess up your, like, in the nicest way possible, mess up your chorus and your conphase and not get punished for it, because you have so many 4-ofs and so many 2-ofs. You can track everything, like, so easily. It, like, is going to really help people out learn the list as well, which is really big. So I think you could easily see people just net deck this 60. I think there's probably going to be a knee-jerk to some Healy-style builds, like we saw Sharon's Care in the Zoroark. I think there's also license for potentially more Arc Goo or Arc Dura to be coming out as well, because they can be tanky. And I think there will be a bit of a knee-jerk to Lost Zone box as well. It wasn't actually that popular in the field. It feels like most people just went for other bigger stuff instead. But Tor did really well with that Lost Zone box. Really awesome to see. Let me know your thoughts on the winning deck lists. What are you thinking about for Salt Lake? How are you going to be knee-jerking to Tord's list where it has answers to Empoleon? Because, yeah, it really limits lots of people's options. It has the vacuums for the parasols. It has cross switchers. Has everything it really needs to be a competent list going forward without many changes. So I'll hear it all down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video tomorrow. Cheers.